It's 4:12 in the morning. That can mean only two things. One, I shouldn't hit the snooze button because I got a late start. And two, we're going to go do a pretty intense hike. Today's hike is going to be We are fireworks, our lives but a short burst remembered briefly after they shine or twinkle into the night. Our lives are little more than an instant in which to make the most of what we're given, with each day an opportunity to build and a step further along our trajectory. Every morning presents an opportunity to take on a challenge, advance a goal, or in some way, shape, or form, improve life for yourself and for others. The days in which we do that, we stack behind us like stones in a path. But every morning also presents an opportunity to be a routine day, ordinary, stacking behind us like discarded snack wrappers and equally useful. Our days add to weeks, years, and eventually a lifetime that we will look back on, and it will feel like an instant, fleeting as frost on grass in the morning, ephemeral as fog in the sun. So the question is, when you look back at that stack of days left in your wake, the years that vanished like old calendars, the time and youth that ran away like young lovers, will you be looking at a life of attempting your dreams, or of excusing away why you never did? My father died when he was 59, an unusually young age in our family. His death hammered home for me that a long life isn't guaranteed, that my dreams can't be placed on pause for the sake of temporary comfort, and that temporary comfort has a way of becoming a lifetime of deferred and unrealized dreams. So what do you dream about? What do you want your life to mean when you eventually reflect on it? I started this channel to give something to people, to help others learn, through artistic expression, more about themselves and the trillions of living things with which we share this planet. To create, we must understand ourselves. By understanding ourselves, we open the door to understanding others, to seeing others as complex and with their own lives and opportunities to become their best. Seeing that all life lives full and rich in their own experience, and that we experience only tiny slices of those lives, that realization leads us to understanding the intrinsic value, the light within, and, to steal from John Steinbeck, the infinite perfectibility of all people. That realization leads inevitably to one logical understanding. All life is equal in value and worth to our own. That infallible and unwavering truth links all humanity across the planet and the millennia for which we've existed. At the core, all people want the same things: better and safer and fuller lives for ourselves, and more of that for future generations. Most people want peace, friendship, companions with which to walk together as we spend our lives learning what it means to be human and exploring the most significant question we can ask: why do we even exist? These are hard truths, especially for us Americans, whose culture breeds internal division and revels in the vanquish of opposition through any means. All civilizations, however, struggle with recognizing in all people the light of humanity. This is the greatest and most universal failing of humans, and also the easiest to overcome simply by talking with and learning about others. I never thought that waking up at 3 a.m. to try and outrun the sunrise to a trailhead would be one of the things that brings me joy. But mountains experience sunrise swaddled in warm-colored light, contrasted by the coldness of ridgeline shadows, harsh and acute across the valleys between ranges. Sunrises defy description, defy words that create a location mentally or emotionally. But let me try. Mountain sunrises are pink and orange, brown and yellow, with shadows of blue and purple. Pink is the color of an old, soft blanket, fresh from the dryer, wrapped around your shoulders and smelling of detergent, dryer sheets, and heat. Orange is a warm cast iron skillet handle, not hot, not burning, still easily held, but warm, and tendrils of steam scented with a family meal lazily rising from around the skillet's lid. Brown is the wood box handed down through generations, grain smoothed by the handling of our father, grandfather, and more, that now stores old memories, a former girlfriend's love letter, our first driver's license, mixed with the scent of a grandfather's cologne carried on a stray wind. Yellow is the fluff of petals and garden flowers, the smell of honey in tea, and the sound of a single bird chirping in the afternoon. Blue is lying on the grass in the summer with your eyes closed, cool ground on your back, and the sun's heat on your face. And specifically, it is the moment that a cloud's umbra passes down your face, cooling and making the skin on your face feel tight. Purple is crickets chirping, the smell of a neighbor's dinner cooking over hardwood charcoal, the creaking of an old rocking chair on a wooden patio, and the feel of new socks the first time they touch feet. These are the emotions that define the nature of a mountain sunrise, provide the backdrop for the first songs of mountain birds and the early moans of rock faces as they warm from their overnight cold and the cool, still air chilled by melting frost. Fog fades from valley meadows like an unused memory, burned away by the sun as its light descends mountain slopes. For minutes, pastel tones highlight the boundaries between shadow and light, emphasize the shades of color, and then fade, disappearing into the melted frost drops that line leaves and grass. Perhaps waking early isn't the joy, but a means instead to experience that mountain sunrise, to share that short moment with strangers drinking their bitter coffee, to revel in their memories of similar mountain mornings at base camps for other summits. The Decalibron starts at Kite Lake, one of the higher starting points for 14er hikes in Colorado. The wall of the public pit toilet at Kite Lake is the last shade that a Decalibron hiker will feel until they return to their car. From Kite Lake, the Decalibron provides a loop across 4 mountains: Democrat, Cameron, Lincoln, and Bross, the 4 mountains which give the trail its name. Or Bross, Lincoln, Cameron, and Democrat, the reverse loop, sometimes jokingly called the Brolocade. The loop, at around 8.5 miles, is itself quite a long hike. What makes it a defining rite of passage for Colorado 14er peak baggers involves the trail's metrics. A net elevation gain of around 3,200 feet, with almost all of the hike involving elevation gains and losses between the 13,000 and 14,000 foot marks. Kite Lake rests just shy of 12,000 feet, and Democrat summits at 14,154, a total gain of almost 2,200 feet as the red carpet the trail unfolds for its hikers. Democrat's incline, a boulder field that itself represents a tough hike, drains the legs and spirits of many hikers. The summit provides expansive views of the peaks to the west. When I summited Democrat, despite a haze in the sky from August wildfires, the distinctive pyramid silhouette of Mount Elbert and the heft and bulk of Massive cut the horizon like dog's teeth. Other hikers thought they could make out the profiles of Capitol and Snowmass in the far distance. Cameron rests opposite Democrat via a saddle with a low point of around 13,390 feet, a decline of almost 800 feet from Democrat. Many people elect to turn back after Democrat, and with good reason. The hike up Cameron, though not steep, feels ceaseless. And Democrat, though the hardest peak to summit, is not the trail's hardest part. The saddle between the first and second peaks provides a way back for hikers who may have underestimated the trail's difficulty. Mount Cameron's summit at 14,238 feet is not the trail's highest point, but at nearly 100 feet higher than Democrat, the hiker reaching the long, flat, broad, and spacious gallery of views presented by Cameron has climbed nearly 900 feet up that Democrat Cameron saddle. Cameron's peak lacks many of the views of Democrat and Lincoln, being hemmed in by the other summits in the Decalibron. It provides nice views of the ranges near Leadville, however. Cameron also feels the most like another planet. Flat with small rocks as opposed to the large rocks of Democrat and Lincoln, Cameron feels more at home to little green men in spacesuits and scientific rovers than it does to hikers, their faces dark, dry, and gritty with mountain dust. For a while, the Decalibron eases, as though the trail deems anyone who has made it that far worthy of a break. The saddle to Mount Lincoln provides a generally flat stroll with a gentle decline at first and a gentle incline towards Lincoln, an elevation change of only a couple hundred feet. This part of the hike, however, presents other risks. To the trail's immediate north, the mountains drop sheer and straight like a table leg, and a very real risk exists if walking off trail here. Lincoln, to me, had the best summit of all the 14ers I have summited. It has been my favorite. Maybe because Steinbeck made a bunch of friends there. Maybe because someone with an actual film camera asked me to take a photo of their group. Maybe also because it has the best panorama, nicest gallery of views, and was the most calm spot on the hike. Lincoln also represents the highest point on the hike at 14,295 feet. From here, the general trajectory is downward, and the trail's easiest portion rapidly draws to an end, giving way to the Decalibron's greatest obstacle. After Lincoln, the trail doubles back, then forks toward Bross. Bross Summit is closed. The summit has many owners. On one of my hikes this summer, I met another hiker who said he had decent first-hand knowledge of the Bross situation, and that not all the owners were known, but that all the owners had to give approval to open the summit. He indicated that the no trespassing signs were for liability and that no one really cared about hikers who stay on the trail. The risk, he also said, came from abandoned mines, some of which have deep vertical shafts, which were covered with planks and rocks when the mines closed. Today, he said, many remain unmarked and present a significant fall risk for off-trail hikers who step onto brittle wood covered thinly in rock. I don't know if any of that is true, or if it was solely the speculation of a random person on a trail claiming specific knowledge. I did not attempt the Bross Summit, though on the day I hiked the Decalibron, others did. For me, completing the loop on the Bross bypass counted as completing the trail, and I'm happy with that. The hardest part of the trail arrives after Lincoln and after Bross, after the fork, and after a spur trail that winds on the western side of Bross past the skeleton remains of mine adits, piles of miscolored rock pulled from under the mountain, and through the posts and markers of private mining claim boundaries. The Bross descent, however, proves that the Decalibron saves the hardest part for when hikers feel exhaustion like trees feel the sun, for the time when water runs low, senses worn and exhausted by elevation and exposure like old sneakers from pavement, and a hiker's desire to finish becomes the strongest and perhaps only guiding objective. The Bross descent, a 2,000-foot decline with -12 to -54% grades, covered in small pebbles that afford traction like ball bearings, causes a significant number of falls each year, though most are inconsequential. On my hike, people around me fell a number of times. The views into the Bross Cameron Amphitheater, however, provide a trade-off for this descent that could make it worthwhile. For me, the hardest section wasn't the Bross descent. That was the most physically demanding. The hardest was the Democrat ascent, which I wanted to give up on often. Above 13,000 feet, everyone hikes slowly. I use a 100 on, 30 off technique. After 100 steps, I rest for 30 seconds. Every third rest, I pause for 45 seconds. This prevents my legs from freezing and allows a pause that doesn't sap momentum. It also gives me something tangible to count, and that helps my brain stay focused on the hike. Breaks of a minute and longer cause leg muscles to release oxygen for other parts of the body to use. That oxygen sacrifice increases the challenge of starting again and regaining momentum. So here's my advice to you about hiking the Decalibron. Bring more water than you expect to need, at least double. Bring sunblock with you to apply a few times during the hike. Stay on the trail. If you don't feel the need to complete the loop, turn back at the Bross Summit Fork and retrace your steps down Cameron. That does add mileage, but also provides a safer route. Completing a trail like the Decalibron isn't about the moment that boots end where they began. Yes, that moment is a symbol, a frozen instant that represents an achievement. That achievement arrives through planning, practice, work, diligence, and desire. In that way, completing a difficult hike mirrors the tasks that life sets for us to plan, practice, and work with diligence and desire to an aim that strives for an achievement greater than ourselves. To that end, I say that the greatest achievement we can make is to dedicate our lives, our work, our plans, and our practice to ends that benefit others in ways we will know and ways we will not. That achievement stems from understanding and living a life built upon the practice of recognizing that all people have within them their own light, their own value, and that the light all others provide to the world has value, even if we don't see it. We have very little time with which to decide the light we wish to leave in the world, that bright firework flash we will give that will quickly be forgotten. We can choose that, and every day through action or inaction, we make that choice.